My name's Don.
And I'm Peter.
And we are two plebs talking about... California.
This week in the DPRC.
And as per usual, we're we're communist as fuck.
Is that why they're calling me Commissar in the comment section?
I don't know, Commissar, is it?
That might be it.
I mean, it might be a good reason is all I'm saying.
Could be.
Anyway, so, in the world of us being a bunch of communist shitlords, we have decided that we are going to tell colleges, community colleges specifically, that if they don't graduate more people and push them on to at least a degree, or a four-year college, then go fuck you. We don't go fuck yourself. We don't actually want you.
Okay.
It's basically what this comes down to.
So we want results.
That seems legit, right? Right. I mean, this is almost not communistic of California. So how could I be bitching?
Yeah, I mean, how are we bitching here?
So, when people all over California go, you know what I need is, I'd really like to go take a class on, I don't know, this programming language.
Right.
Because I know how to program, but I don't know this language.
Okay. So,
I'm going to go down to my community college, drop $15, buy the book, and go to class one night a week for, presumably 8 or 16 weeks. And then I'll know what I'm doing.
Okay.
Or at least have a good enough idea that, since I already know how to program, that I'll move on from there. Or, for example, the entirety of the mechanics world where you get a certification at the end of every class that says, well, you've been certified to do this thing.
Right.
Or any other, welding is basically the same principle, or any of the other trades-based things all work on that sort of principle.
Right.
Really, basically anything other than gender studies and liberal arts works this way.
Okay.
Now, I know somebody's going to be like, Don, that's not really true. You kind of need a degree to be a physicist. Well, if you need a degree to be a physicist, that's not who we're talking about here.
Right.
So,
and typically, if people want to be a physicist, they're looking at, masters and doctorates. You don't get that from community college.
Right. You're pretty far off, right?
So back to pushing students towards a four-year college.
Right. So, this would be the premise, right? So, but under these degrees, you would need these things. Well, herein is the problem. Even here in California, those trade things still happen.
They do.
And we still
need
pump
tradesmen.
People through schools to get that done, right? When you meet someone on a job and they're like, yeah, I got a welding cert, they didn't just shit that thing out. They went somewhere and got it.
Right.
Well, this is, so we were sold on community college, the premise of community college.
Pretty much.
Well, what ways are we going to manage to make sure that people actually graduate with degrees? Because they have their own idea.
Right. I mean, how do we make someone who's not there to get a degree, they're there for a certificate, get a degree?
See, they're making a different argument here, right? But they're just ignoring that one entirely. They're saying, well, look, students who go to school full-time are more likely, even if it's only for one semester, are more likely to get a degree than those that don't.
Okay.
So, dear community colleges, we're going to up the value of the grant that we give out because we're California, and we're going to subsidize their first year of tuition, and all of this applies only to students who are going to community college full-time.
Okay.
Because that means people are going to get degrees.
Not necessarily.
Oh.
Because back to, I can go for a welding certificate and still be at full-time for 2 years.
Well.
And not get a degree.
Hold on. If this is what they say, right? Think of all those trades where you only really need, 8 or 10 classes or something, right?
Right.
Well, that means for my first semester, I take 15 credits, because that's what they're calling full-time. Not 18, mind you. 15.
I thought it was like 12.
Yeah, well, they seem to be shooting for 15, right?
Okay. So I thought 12 was typically looked at as being full-time.
Though they're playing games with like lab hours and all that kind of things to get to 15, right?
Okay.
So your math class has a math lab. The class itself is 3 credits. The lab is 1, right?
Okay.
And in that sense, 15, not 12. So chances are good they probably still mean 12.
Right.
But regardless, this is what they're doing. Well, so if I am thinking about going to college for, I don't know, being a mechanic, right?
Right.
So it would be worth it to go get all of the certs, even though if I want to go work for a dealership, they're going to send me through their own training program anyway.
Right.
Or if I want to go work for anyone else, they're going to send me through a lot of their own training programs anyway.
That's the way it usually goes.
Or at minimum on-the-job training. But if I walk in with all the certs, I can go, look, at least, I know what a wrench is, right?
Right.
And that's basically how they're treated. But what we have just said is, if you want to do these things, get out of high school, go to college, get $4,000, right? Just hand it to you. Pay no tuition. Buy the books, which you will also get on grants and subsidies for other things that are here in California.
Right.
Or federally, though you don't even have to go that far, right?
Yeah, you can get them through the Pell program.
Right. And so for 16 weeks, we're going to pay you, of class, we're going to pay you $4,000, and we're going to charge you almost nothing.
Right.
Well, if you're making minimum wage around here, that's pretty close to having a minimum wage job.
Yeah.
And, well, actually, it's probably more than having a minimum wage job. And at the end of it, what is not going to happen? You're not going to have a degree.
No.
Because there's no particular need for you to stay.
No.
You walk into, the mechanics industry with 8 certs out of, what is it, I think it's 10 or 12, might even be 9, to become an ASE certified mechanic.
Right.
Job like that.
Pretty much.
But you're never getting a degree.
No.
So, is this going to help or hurt the situation? Let's not bother with that.
Well, if people use the system as intended, that won't be a problem.
That is well known to happen.
Right.
I mean, if everyone just did exactly what I thought they would all the time, then this would be great. Okay.
Yeah, it never works out that way, so you can't think that way.
Well, you can, and we do, all the time, which is why we're going to do this. And by the way, no one is talking about how we're going to pay for this, just that we're going to do it.
Of course, we're going to do it.
Under the premise that this means more people will get degrees, right?
Right.
Now, who else is this actually going to hurt?
I don't know who.
So, in our own lives, we have known lots of people. In fact, I can think of one very specifically who went down this road for a very long time. He took 1 to 2 classes per semester for something like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he walked out with a master's. Well, what is California telling the schools when they do this?
You can't do that.
Right. Because that person might drop out of college and not get a degree.
Because he wasn't going full-time to begin with.
Right. Now, to be clear, for anyone who thinks my math is bad, I want to say he already, at that point, had a master's. Or already had a bachelor's, depending on which timeline you want to go. But, it took him like 12 years or something like that to get a master's degree. It took a long fucking time. But he was working 70 hours a week or some bullshit through all this.
Right.
Well, so if you go to the school and say, we'll give you more money, we'll subsidize your tuition, we'll give more money to the people that you bring in here, which is more money that you can get out of them. We'll make sure that you get to keep the funding that you have, but don't take that guy. What do you think's going to happen?
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. When he got his later degrees, was he going to a community college? No.
No.
For obvious reasons. But he did start out doing this, as I recall, with basically nothing.
Right, and then he went and did the online colleging
For
stuff.
a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, again, all of this will not happen. And look, that has been the work and go to school mentality of fairly successful people for the past literally forever.
Right. That will end.
Because the schools won't take you anymore.
No. Because they're looking at results now, as in, this is your start date, this is your end date. 2 years, you're done with a degree. Period.
Well, so I would suggest that, there will have to be some flexibility there. It'll basically have to be 3.
Why would it have to be 3?
Having ever gone to college, I'm sure you're aware, you can't take this semester, so come back next one.
Yes. Well aware of that.
So...
No, actually, I never had that problem.
Congratulations. You're one of like none.
No, I know. I've heard. I've heard like, yeah, it was all full up. I'm like...
Right.
I never had that problem.
So, and look, cool, but I mean, it's going to have to be 3 for this reason. Some degrees are going to make that more important than others, right?
Right.
But regardless, it's going to have to be 3. And fine, they'll go with 3 years. But what is the other thing that is going to happen here? Any program that doesn't have a degree at the end is gone.
Pretty much.
So, back to all those trades, get out, right? No more ASE certification for mechanics. No more welding certification for welders, right? Or we'll only grant them to you upon graduation.
Yeah, upon graduation where you hit all the other requirements to make it an associate's degree in in welding.
Now, I know there are a lot of tradesmen that watch this show. In fact, I'd say they're a substantial portion of our audience. Every single one of them went, there's a fucking welding degree? Or they met someone with a welding degree and went, why would you want that? All it does is crank out idiots.
Yeah, because now you know how to weld and you had to take gender studies on top of it. Well, because a lot of colleges are making that requirement now.
Certainly are, but even outside of that, there is the...
so they're sensitive welders.
Yeah, exactly. Very important. But outside of that, there has been, in the trades world, a thing that's gone on for a long time, which is to say, people who get certified to do things tend to do better than people who have degrees in all the things.
Right.
Because
they had focused...
Right. So, presumably, you spent at least 8 weeks doing this one thing, so even if you did that, 2 months ago, chances are pretty good that, like, if I hand you a drill, you won't be like, fuck is this thing?
Right.
So, however, this is not true of people who get degrees. And it hasn't been ever.
No, they kind of have to, like, drop right into their field of study or they just lose it.
Well, just to be clear of how long this problem's been going on, my dad has an associate's degree in auto mechanics that for the past literally all of my life has been telling me this thing is fucking worthless. Now, my dad is not young, so it's been a sweet hot minute since that was true.
Right.
So, maybe it's always been this way, and maybe degrees aren't always the right answer. Something Mike Rowe.
Yeah. Listen to Mike Rowe.
And yet, what are we going to do here in California?
Ignore Mike Rowe?
That's what we always do.
I know.
Anyway, because once again, I don't have a good segue today. Maybe I'm just lazy about this sort of thing all of a sudden.
No. I think our stories just don't match up for a good segue.
Yeah, no, not this one at all. I spent a couple of minutes there looking for one. It's just not there. No. So this is going to be a horribly awkward segue where we discuss segues, and not just the kind that Kevin Hart rides on. And so we're just going to move right along to or Kevin James, probably both.
I don't know.
Whatever. But look, we're gonna move right along to this other thing, which is to say that we have once again decided here in California that putting people in jail is bad.
Yes.
I mean,
we
basically
we our jails are overcrowded. Those people need to be let back out.
Well, so that would be rolling the clock back on what we've already done, right? So this time we've decided, and by this time I mean again, we have decided that we're gonna cut this off at the pass, right? We're gonna make sure that when you get convicted of a crime, you don't spend a lot of time in jail.
Right. Well, I mean, they just had a couple of programs that let people out. We don't want to fill those seats right back up.
Well, yeah, that's important. And look, yeah, there are criminals and they commit crimes, and so what we're gonna do is just make sure they don't get punished too much.
Right.
Because there's no particular reason that if you did something not very big of a deal, like, and I'm not kidding, this is the example, manslaughter,
Right.
and you did it, and I'm not kidding, this is the example, 36 times.
Right.
Well, why should you spend 40 years in jail for that?
Because you killed 36 people.
Well, I mean, come on now. Manslaughter means lack of intent, just negligent, right? And it's not homicide, just like, and I'm not kidding, this is the example. We reported on that thing that burned down in Oakland. It was just that big hippie shack.
Right.
Right? That's the guy they're using as an example. The guy who ran that thing. Should not spend 40 years in prison for 36 people dying because of his crazy hippie shack full of drugs and bullshit and homeless people that, shockingly, was a giant fire hazard. Yep. And when I say we're doing this, I mean it's working its way through the Senate right now.
Well, I'm not surprised, considering our last attempt, which got people out early, even allowed murderers out.
Well, right. There is a limitation on this.
Oh.
Which is to say murderers.
Really?
And rapists and kid touchers and quite a few other things.
Because the last bill didn't have that limitation.
That's true. However, there's a limitation on the limitation.
Oh, of course.
So, the way that this is going to break down is that if you did a thing, and it's not one of those original, one of those categories, right? Rape, murder, fucking all that shit, right? Then, for our example here, our guy with 36 counts of manslaughter, you will be charged with 1 count of manslaughter. Right. Well,
Okay.
you'll be charged with 36, but you will be given a jail sentence for 1 count of manslaughter. And then what they will do, which manslaughter is something like 3 to 6 or something like that, right?
Okay.
And so then what they will do is they will go to the midpoint, which is what, 4.5, right?
Right.
Okay. And so they will go to there, and then they will divide that by 3 for every subsequent count, to make sure that this guy, who, by hosting this giant hippie hotel room...
So 1/3 of half.
Yeah.
For each additional count.
Well, to be fair, it's like 1/3 of 2/3, right? Because it's there will be most of them are not really long-term, far-away things, but...
Okay.
So it's not like, 2 to 145 years, right?
Right.
But it's like, well... manslaughter, 36, right? Depends on which manslaughter. But regardless, you go to your 4.5, and then you take 1/3 of that. So 1.5 years. Now...
I mean, this guy's still going to jail for a long time.
You would think so. But there will be a subsequent cap.
A subsequent cap.
Yeah. Which is to say, whatever the original charge was, no more than double that.
So a maximum of 12 years at that point in time.
That's the idea.
For killing 36 people.
Hmm?
No.
Right. Well, I mean, you say that, but this is going to happen. And by the way, we did this, which many of these people bring up, in the 70s. We did this double cap thing, right? Because, well, I mean, why should just, if you get into a bar fight and you punch 15 people, each one of those is 3 to 5 years for assault. So, no more than 10 years for getting in a bar fight. And this is how we sold it.
Okay.
And guaranteed, that sort of thing will come up again. Except that we don't think bar fights are like just a normal part of life anymore.
Or bar fights are misdemeanors.
Right. Well, not necessarily. So, depends on what's going on. But what do you want to bet this will be a punch a Nazi kind of thing? Which is our modern day bar fight, right?
Right.
So, it would be a felony unless you're the bike lock basher who doesn't go to jail. Or really have anything happen to you. Would be hypothetically a felony to punch a Nazi. So if you went out and you beat the hell out of a bunch of Nazis, right, then you could, for each one of them, be charged with assault or attempted murder like 50 times.
Right.
Now, notice when the original list was given, attempted murder was not in there.
Right.
And I looked twice because I went, that has to be in there.
Not an exemption.
Nope. So, you will be under these constrained limits of charging for attempted murder. So if you shoot someone and they don't die, you're going to jail for like if you shoot 15 people and none of them die, you're going to jail for like max 10 years.
Wow.
However, if one of them dies, then you can go to jail for like 100 years, right? Exactly. So apparently, shoot for non-vital organs. Just leave all the message you want, right? Like, so you don't need that kneecap, boom.
That's just when you go in with a high-capacity shotgun.
Well,
Less
no,
likely to kill
because
people.
lots and lots of people would die, right?
Not if you're using, like, birdshot.
Yeah, they will. Not if you're using rock salt, which, watch that start happening.
Right?
And so, look, you'll be fine. Like, max 10 years, basically, is what this gets to. I mean, okay, not max, but somewhere in that vicinity. I don't remember what the attempted murder caps out at. But
yeah.
Look, whatever it is, double that, right? And this, by the way, is going to help the community because these things disproportionately target black and brown people. And...
They don't target anybody.
I guess they do. Look,
Crime.
I understand that you think in your non-progressive utopia that you only get charged for murder if you kill people. But that's foolish. Dead bodies appear out of nothing, and then we find a fucking brown person, and then we charge them with murder. That's how it works.
No, it's not how it works.
Commissar Peter, I hate to tell you how progressive utopias work, being as you are Commissar. But, quite clearly, that is how it works.
No, it's not how it works. It seems to be how people think it works.
That's how California thinks it works.
You know, back to somebody making that statement of truth not being truth.
There it is. Well, so, but more importantly, there is, and I'm not kidding, no evidence that longer prison sentences have any positive effect on crime.
Other than the criminals not out on the street committing
No evidence?
crime.
Literally none?
Yeah, there is. Sorry. There just is. Can't ignore it.
And that's the end of our show for the day.
That's right. It's taco time.
However, before we go, we'd appreciate it if you shared us around.
You can find us on YouTube,
BitChute,
Facebook,
Twitter,
Patreon,
and Maker Support.
Thanks for stopping by.